Hey, what's up? Today is Thursday, the 5th of September, and I have just completed my 15th, or is it the 16th? The 16th flight. I've just completed my 16th flight, and now I'm going home. To make a long story short, it's just a bunch of good news. Really a bunch of good news. It's a whole bunch of good news. This video might be louder than normal because I have to drive with the window down today. However, it shouldn't be too bad. So, virtually almost every issue I've been having with my landings for the past couple of flights, they're almost, if not all, taken care of. One of my biggest talking points from the previous video was how I needed to ensure that I put in some more extra work in between my flights. As much as I think that I had it or was close to having it, nothing really would have improved if I didn't put in those extra hours on the simulator. Which really and truly, after you get into it, it doesn't really take that much time for the time to pass. So I took my own advice. I went home that Tuesday night. I put in a lot of work. I put in at least a couple hours on the simulator, just researching other videos that when I was maybe in ground school or looking at them for a flight sim purpose, they didn't really explain as much to me as they do now. I was able to really connect a lot of dots when I was researching all those videos. So I put in a lot of work Tuesday, put in some good landings, or at least try to understand. If I didn't at least get the landing I was looking for, I was at least trying to hear what I was being told in the videos and then putting them into practice on the simulator. And I was really able to do that yesterday, which would have been Wednesday evening. I was really able to do that yesterday to the point where I actually said, why don't I just record a compilation of these landings and send them to my instructor for review? And I did that. And yesterday was some of the best simulator landings I've probably had in a general aviation. Now, when I got the feedback from my instructor earlier today before my flight, he said the only thing I had to fix was how much power I was leaving in. So, of course, I took that into account going into the flight. And performed the best I ever had in the circuit today. And ironically, today was full of so much winds. I was actually supposed to fly between 9:30 and 12 p.m. However, due to how high the winds were, my instructor decided to take a next student out instead, since they were flying somewhere else where the winds wouldn't have been as much of a factor. Ironically, the winds didn't really change much by the time they came back, so I still had to deal with it, which I wasn't necessarily afraid of because I knew that at one point or another in my aviation career, I would have had to learn how to deal with strong winds. But I'll tell you, that is probably one of the best arm workouts I've ever had, at least in my left arm, since one hand on the yoke, next hand on the throttle. But yeah, it was a real workout. It was actually gusting up to 25 knots today. I don't know if it ever gusted any higher than 25, but just to give you an impression, 25 knots is around 50 kilometers an hour, and that's a lot of speed that's a lot of wind speed hitting you. Sorry. Fortunately, it was a straight headwind, almost direct headwind, so it's not like I had to land in a 25 knot crosswind or anything. However, it still has its challenges, especially on the downwind. That downwind went by so quick today, because of course when you're flying downwind, you're actually heading away from the wind, which means the wind is pushing you, which means you're going to end up completing that track a lot sooner than you would have expected. So twice I actually ended up finding myself overshooting where I would normally turn to base. just due to how quickly the downwind has happened. I'm there expecting, I'm just going to go around the same time I always do, by just a sense of time rather than looking at how fast I've actually been moving due to the wind. It was also a big factor when we practiced the emergency landing today, because at one point I actually took too long to turn, and due to the winds would have pushed us away from the runway during our turn to base. So I actually was not within range to actually make it to the runway on that first emergency landing. So if that was a real emergency, if that was a real engine failure, we would have landed short. Fortunately, it was a simulation, so we were able to just go around. That being said, when I did get the corrections from my instructor, I was quick to pick up on it and then implement them. And well, let's just say I never had a short emergency landing again, and I never will, God willing. Other than the sheer speed of the wind itself, as I mentioned, it was also gusting. That means that it might be 17 knots at 1 second, and then it just shoots all the way up to 25 knots the next second. That of course creates a lot of turbulence. However, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. There were some surprises every now and then, but you get used to it. And sometimes you actually end up anticipating it, so it's not really the worst feeling in the world. It's a lot more pronounced in a little Cessna rather than a big airliner. However, it's just how flying is. We also did 2 high approaches and I think it was 3 flapless landings. If not 3 flapless landings, then 2 flapless landings. The high approach was alright, to standard. Didn't really have any issues with executing the high approach. The flapless landing, however, due to the winds and everything, I got a little overwhelmed and was a little fast on my first landing. However, on the other flapless landings, I was able to do it fine, no problem. Something I've also pleasantly noticed actually, was how well I was able to recover from quote-unquote bad landing situations. So before, I was essentially relying on my instructor to feed me the instruction, to continue feeding me instructions as to what needs to happen. It's not really the most reliable method when you are 10-20 feet above the ground and there's only seconds before you touch down. So I made sure that I kept on practicing in the simulator until I was able to have built up the confidence in myself to make the corrections as everything is happening, rather than waiting on my instructor. Because one of the issues I felt was happening was that I was really waiting too long to make corrections that I should have made earlier. And that showed today when I was able to just see something happen, correct it same time, and move on. If I ended up flaring too much in a landing, I was able to recognize I was flaring too much, and I knew what to do. I had to just pull back that much harder when I actually started sinking again. That and getting my seat a little higher with the help of a cushion, that helped me to just build that consistency a little more. So the improvement in landings was just half of the good news. The other half is I was finally able to get some flight footage. I recently borrowed a GoPro phone mount, if that's the best way you could describe it. It has the bracket that connects into all the GoPro mounts, but instead of a GoPro going on top of the bracket, it's actually a phone that you twist and put in. So I noticed that there were a couple mounts in the plane just there. So I started to think to myself, why don't I just take out the GoPro one and put in the cell phone one, and then put in my phone and record some of these flights. And I was really thinking about it, because if there was one flight I wanted to have on camera, it would have been my first solo. But at the same time, I wouldn't want my first solo to be the one time I'm experimenting with getting footage from the flight. At the end of the day, it's all about flying, not recording the flying. However, I saw the opportunity to do it today during my pre-flight, so I made sure the camera was good, the camera angle was good. I left the phone there, and when it was time for us to go out, I hit record and didn't look back at it again until it was time to come out, and I stopped the recording. So I don't know if I'm going to I'll probably incorporate some of the footage into this video so you have an idea of what it's like, but it will also get its own standalone unedited video, so you can just see the entire process from start to finish. You won't hear any of the radio comms because of course it's just a cell phone. I don't really have the adapters to plug it into the airplane's radio. However, you'll at least get to see some of the footage and, you know, have something better than just seeing me drive. You'll actually get to see me fly, which is of course what I'm here to do. But yeah, look forward to that coming out. All in all, today was a very good day, a very good flight. I'm very pleased with how I was able to perform, and now that I've gotten a little momentum with it, I just need to keep the ball rolling, don't stop doing what I've been doing. I just need to keep on putting in some more sim hours. The more sim hours I put in, the more competent I'll be and the more ready I will be for that progress check. I just know it's very close, and I just have to keep on going at it. But other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about becoming a pilot in Jamaica and just being a part of my journey. If you have any comments, leave them down below. Any feedback, let me know. I want to be able to create the best videos as possible for you. So just let me know how I could make a video better. I feel like there's always something that could be done better. So just let me know what you feel like could have been done better. But other than that, my name is Robert Watson. I'll see you again very soon. And remember to always be improving. God bless.
Yeah. I only tell you the truth. I ain't got nothing to lose. Yeah, I gave my life to God and I'm still ballin'. Ain't nobody that can tell me I ain't all in. Late at night I hear the devil steady calling me. That's when I pray to the Father that He give me strength to fight these monsters.